Wow, what a run there's been on lumber prices over the last 2 years. There's been more volatility and ups and downs in that market than a broken roller coaster. It started out in the $300 to $400 per thousand board feet range, spiked up to $1,500, up and down again over 1,000 a year or so ago, and now it's back down in the 300 to 400 range. Now it's spiked up a little bit, now getting closer to 500. So that's up 20%, but it's up 20% from a depressed value. So what's going to happen with lumber prices going forward? Well, there's a lot of speculation on what's going to happen. A lot of it has to do with the housing market. Now, housing market affecting lumber prices has nothing to do with the price of houses. It has to do with the volume of construction. Volume of construction comes from volume of sales. Well, right now, volume of sales for real estate is very, very low. Even though prices have spiked up and interest rates have come down a little bit, there's very little activity. It's kind of like a stalemate. It's kind of like a blocked market for real estate. Nobody's wanting to buy houses. A lot of new home construction developments are stopping construction, and even contracts are being canceled by buyers. This is going to affect the lumber prices going forward. So let's take a look at some of the other factors which might affect lumber prices. The first is that housing market. The housing market itself is going to continue to be at a lower range of sales, mostly because of the price point. In order to construct a new home based on interest rate, construction costs, labor costs, permit costs, it's going to be at the higher end of the affordability range, so they're not going to be churning out large volumes of homes. Even though the market needs homes to satisfy the demand and affordable housing, they're not going to be that many that is churned out. Number two is the demand on the mills. The mills aren't going to have as much demand as they had before. It may lower production volume. They're also still running into trouble getting workforce at these mills. And then the other factor is interest rates. The interest rate environment at the 2 or 3 or 4% level is over for a long time. It's going to be at the 5 or 6 or even 7% range for many years to come, and that's going to affect the volume. So these lumber mills may not have a volume of throughput that's needed to support that kind of production level. That may put a little bit of a limit on how much lower lumber prices can go. If you're not producing that much volume, even if the demand is lower, the price could stabilize. In fact, the mills really need prices to be at a certain level to make it worthwhile to produce lumber. And the logging companies need it at a certain level to harvest timber. So if you're in the 300 to 400 range, a lot of the mills can't even operate profitably, and the logging firms really don't have an incentive to cut down too many more trees. Once you get back up in the 450 or 500 range, now it kind of spurs some of that production. But now you run into problems with workforce. A lot of the mills lost a lot of their workforce in 2019 and 20, and you're not going to be able to get that back. So it may be difficult to get workforce at a number that makes sense to produce lumber at that volume. If you're a builder, if you're a contractor, what have you seen in your market for lumber prices? Have they come back down with the wholesale amount at 400,000 board feet? Are your lumberyard prices back down to where they were, or are they still remaining high? That's going to give you a good indication of where that wholesale to resale price point and the margin falls into play. Are you seeing different types of project mix? Are you seeing more new construction or remodels? Are you seeing more speculative homes or additions? That's going to also affect the throughput on lumber volume, because new home construction takes a lot more lumber than even an addition. An addition might take 30 or 40% of a lumber package of a new construction, and that's going to affect the volume of lumber coming out of these mills. So the price of lumber was on a roller coaster. That volatility is probably over for now, but where it lands and where it falls, as a final price, is it going to be in the 300 to 400 range, 500 to 600 range? Probably not too much higher. At one point, we thought maybe it would land at 600 or 700. Over the next couple of years, it's probably going to trade between maybe 450 and 580, somewhere in that range. But what that's going to do for the retail price will be of interest. Let us know in the comments what you're seeing at your lumber yards and your mills.